Hello, I'm Linda Seith from The Layered Onion. Thank you for joining us. We will be listening to our amazing creators talk about their art and mental health. 48 million artists all over the world share this lived experience. The Layered Onion was formed to create a supportive community, allowing the creators to focus on their art, bringing their work from the shadows to receive the recognition and opportunities they deserve. Each podcast will feature an artist who talks about their creations and mental wellness. Art is healing. We hope these discussions will inspire you to appreciate the stories behind the creations and, more importantly, inspire your inner creator. Together, we can tackle the stigma surrounding mental health.
So I'm Yas Martinez, and I live in Beckenham in England.
All right, great. So it might be a little different time than it is here. So perhaps you can tell me what kind of art is your medium?
Sure. So I'm a visual artist, so I mainly paint and draw, but I do also collage and make sculptures, so a bit of everything.
All right. So what is your favorite of all those?
I'm going to say drawing, because that's mostly what I spend most of my day doing. But looking at my hands, I'd say drawing, because they're covered in ink smudges.
So what drew you to art?
I've always been a doodler and drawer and sort of drawing what I see throughout the day. But when I was very young, my grandparents worked in the National Gallery. So I probably got my love from art from wandering around there with them, looking at all the pictures and things.
So what was the moment you felt like art could be something you focused on for your future?
I don't know. I can't say when it was. I can't say it was through school and being told I was good at it, because I was absolutely rubbish in lessons. Yeah, I can't pinpoint that.
Yeah, well, no worries. At some point you just knew, right?
Yeah, it just fit.
So in the very first issue of the Shallot, you had a piece called The Mountain. And that particular shallot, the theme was on expressions of self. Could you maybe describe how this piece came to be, and maybe even talk a bit about it, describe it for the listeners?
Yeah. So The Mountain is a drawing of a mountain with a nude woman looking out into the distance on top, and the background is a kind of cobalt blue. So I was doing a lot of therapy at the time when I was making this, and I was feeling really up and down, and I felt quite vulnerable and out of touch with everything, and like I didn't know what was ahead of me, like what was going to happen after therapy and things like that. So I suppose it's me on a mountain looking forward.
Maybe you could describe, so the mountain is actually ink, correct? An ink piece?
Yes. So the background blue is acrylic, and then the mountain itself is ink, and so is the body on top.
So the cobalt blue, which of course, who doesn't love cobalt blue? It's such a vibrant color, but it really sets off all the detail in the mountain. It looks very much like, you could see the where you might put your hands and crawl up that mountain. It just has that kind of depth in the crevices. So maybe you could kind of say, was that your thought process as you were drawing it?
Kind of. I know I like a lot of texture in my drawings, so I do make like really rapid scratches with the pen, and I think, yeah, it's all, when I'm drawing, it feels like I'm sort of on the, it sounds really schmoozy, but on the journey with the drawing, I'm really getting my arms into it and things like that. Well, so I suppose I think about climbing it as I'm drawing it.
Yeah, well, I can see like you could even put your, foot in a crevice, your hands as you're climbing. And to me, if you were in therapy at the time, it seems really significant that you had a naked figure on top, displaying your vulnerability.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to, especially, it's very difficult in group therapy as well. You kind of do feel very vulnerable because these are people that you've never met and you're sharing the kind of, not your dark secrets, but all the things that are really personal to you. So I did feel very vulnerable. And who doesn't feel vulnerable when they're not naked?
Right. Well, maybe somebody, but not me.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, when this piece came out in the Shallot, and what did you hope to leave the reader with?
Firstly, thank you for accepting it into the Shallot. And I think I hope to show people that sort of feeling out of touch and vulnerable isn't something to be ashamed of, because a lot of people don't like to admit that they sort of feel alone and like that they're out of touch and out of reach and can't connect with people. But I feel like as well, the piece has two meanings. So it's got that meaning of being alone and vulnerable, but it's also, I now like to look at it as if this mountains, all these obstacles I've overcome, and that space ahead of me isn't something to be scared of anymore. It's kind of something that I can look forward to.
So I guess the last question I have about this piece, obviously I expressed the cobalt blue. Did you pick that color because of the contrast, or was there another reason you picked cobalt blue?
A lot of my work is with cobalt blue, but there's no really real special meaning behind it. I just think it's a good color for the sort of tone of my work. It's not overly bright. It's not depressingly dark. It's just that somewhere in the middle. It's kind of, for me, it's the color of white noise.
So I know you have a piece, like a box sculpture that's also sort of a cobalt blue.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's interesting because people are drawn to a color. I'm drawn to the color. Anybody on the podcast will now know I'm drawn to the color chartreuse. Oh. And so this kind of your go-to color, it sounds like.
Yeah, definitely. I have a lot of blue work.
So I'm going to ask you a question that I love to ask folks because I've been learning so much, is what would be your comfort book or movie show that you go to where the characters feel like friends?
Oh, I go through phases of just watching one program religiously, but I think my constant go-to would have to be Adventure Time, the cartoon.
Adventure Time. Tell me about that.
It's just a crazy kind of cartoon that things are just sweet to characters. Dog has limbs that are made of elastic kind of thing. It's just really wacky and really fun and comforting for me.
So I've never heard of it. And it's a book or it's a show?
It's a show on Cartoon Network.
Oh,
I recommend.
All right. I have actually gone to view some of the folks that people have given me and found that like different genres that I didn't even know about. How's that?
Very good.
Yeah, I think the last cartoon kind of piece that I've watched was SpongeBob.
Oh, yeah, that's a good go-to as well. I love SpongeBob. Any cartoon's a good go-to.
Yeah, they just kind of take you out of your sort of defined, I don't know, patterns. It makes you think differently. For sure. So if you think about what kind of maybe you could just kind of tell us what kind of pieces you're working on right now. What's been kind of your latest efforts for art been around?
At the moment, I'm working on a few actually quite bright and vibrant pieces, very different for me, for a cafe in Spain with fruits and things like that. So it's quite fun. It's different. I'm really enjoying it.
So you have a tie to Spain, correct?
Yes. I am half Spanish.
So do you spend some of your year in Spain?
Yes, I come backwards and forwards to see my family.
So do you find that having these different sort of cultures, affect your art?
Yeah, I think so. I get really, really influenced by colours when I'm in Spain, and kind of, where we are in Denia, in Alicante, there's a big mountain in our town. So I find that really inspiring. Maybe it links to my picture of the mountain without me realising.
Yeah, sometimes I think we keep things in the background and they come out when we least expect them. So maybe you could tell me a little bit about how you found the Layered Onion, this community with, mental health challenges.
I found it a really sort of relaxing group to be a part of. It's really, I first came across it when you guys started up and I saw you on Instagram. And I just thought, wow, that's really something tremendous that people are doing, and I want to be a part of that. And just that aspect of community is amazing. Like, we're all over the world, and there's such a vast collection of work between us. And I think that I just really enjoy that there's an understanding that's not necessary to be said between all of us, and we all share work online. And some of, like, I've done workshops with of some of the artists that are part of the Layered Onion and things like that. So it's just, it's a really nice community to be a part of.
I think we have been amazed. I guess we were amazed by really being all over the world, but obviously mental health challenges, doesn't matter, happens everywhere. And I do think that sense of community has been really important. I recently talked to an artist who said that they'd never had told anybody. And this is the first time they felt like they could really be their true self.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. So
that's great, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is for sure. So when you think about sort of having some health challenges, do you have any words of wisdom for other artists that face these similar challenges?
Yes. I think for me, making artwork is a big sense of, like, it's a therapy. So I would say to just make whatever you want to make, because so many of us fall victim to sort of making because we think someone might like it, or making because we think we'll get a lot of likes on Instagram. But I really do believe that making, whether that be drawing, writing, whatever it is, it's sort of the best tool for healing and processing information. So I really suggest make for yourself, not to please someone else.
Literally this past year, I have been busy with the Layered Onion, and I didn't take time to do a lot of creation myself. And boy, did I really notice how it affected me. And, I think you're right that you just sometimes just create and don't think about, what it's for. It's for you, perhaps. Just
exactly,
right, to stay centered, or to, do what you need to do to, keep a pulse.
Yeah.
Yeah. So is there anything else you would want to tell folks about your art, about you, about anything?
I don't think so. If you want to see lovely French bulldog pictures, do check out my Instagram, because I have a very grumpy French bulldog.
And what's your bulldog's name?
Santi.
Santi. Does Santi go back and forth from Spain to England with you?
Oh no, he's not allowed to fly. He stays in England. He's too old.
So I just would thank you so much for joining us today. I know it's a little bit later there for you, but thanks so much for joining us. And well, we'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you for having me. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you for joining us today. It is an honor to talk with these amazing creators. You can see and read the artist's work in The Shallot, our journal of mental health, art, and literature, or on our website, thelayeredonion.com. Thank you.